Hello, everybody. I'm Kelly Whitlock Burton. I'm the Vice Chair of the Lincoln County Dems. Welcome. I use she, her pronouns, and I live in Waldeboro. So we've got a great program tonight. As you know, we're going to be talking about how we can elect more Democratic women to public office up and down the ticket. And then after that, we've got some business we need to take care of. So I'm hoping you'll stick around after our speakers have had a chance to share their information and to answer your questions. We need to talk about, we want to get your feedback on the platform, the state party platform, things you'd like to see in it. And we also need to elect a new representative or an additional representative from Lincoln County to serve on the platform committee. So those are all things. And luckily, I won't be doing any of that. That all involves math and technology, and Autumn and Chris are going to handle that piece of it. But I'd like to start by introducing our speakers tonight. We have Ashley McCurry, who is the Executive Director of Emerge Maine. Full disclosure, I'm an Emerge Maine graduate, class of 2018, and I see a couple of people on the screen in front of me who are my sisters as well. Emerge Maine trains Democratic women in Maine to run for public office. We also have with us tonight Molly Cowan, who covers New England for Emily's List. And Emily's List is a national organization that supports Democratic pro-choice women interested in running for office at every level. I know that all of us have been digesting and processing the news recently from the Supreme Court. And I think that it's pretty fair to say it has never been more important than it is right now to continue to elect more Democratic women to office. We've got a lot of rights to protect. We've got a lot of rights to expand. And we know that when we put women in office, we see those things happen. So Molly's going to kick us off.
Hey, everybody. I am so excited to be here with my friend Ashley. We were joking that we've worked with each other now through a multiple election cycles and many different roles here in Maine. So I'm really excited to be here. And I am excited to be here with all of you. I have a special connection with your county and your districts. I remember canvassing in 2018 for Laura Fortman, and then again for Chloe Maxman, who is a wonderful new addition. She was, I think, one of the only flips in the entire country, frankly. And so that was it's a really exciting time. A little bit about me. I am currently at my dinner table in my home in Exeter, New Hampshire. My children are still awake, although my partner is reading Harry Potter to them, so hopefully they will not disrupt us. But I am also locally elected myself. I serve as the vice chair of our select board here in town. And, can tell you all from a firsthand perspective, we've faced a lot of local disagreements, I guess, about science and masks and vaccines and school openings. And it's a really tough time to be elected and to be serving in public office. But I am really excited to be here. I'm always happy to talk about women running and winning. And I will talk a little bit about Emily's List and what we do. So first of all, thank you so much for creating a COVID-safe environment for all of us to gather today. Increasing the strength and power of women in Maine politics is our mission for tonight, right? And it's not just electing more women for the sake of electing more women, but electing more diverse women with different voices, perspectives, and experiences who will make better laws and policies that benefit everyone. And that is the point of the work we do at Emily's List. And I'm excited to share a little bit more with you about the work we've done here in Maine. First, for some context, literally the morning after the election in 2016, women started calling and reaching out to Emily's List in numbers we've never seen, looking for help for running for office. Emily's List was suddenly hearing from women from all 50 states and Washington, D.C. who were interested in running at the state, local, and federal levels. It was all unprecedented and we weren't ready. The previous all-time record for the largest number of women who had ever reached out to Emily's List to say they wanted to run for office was 920 during the election cycle in 2016. Usually what would happen is that Emily's List would have to ask and beg women to run. But after women started calling by the thousands, we had to triple the size of our state and local campaigns team. Hi, I am the regional director for the state and local campaigns team, just to keep up with the demand. So that's how I'm able to be here with you today. Today, the number is up to 60,000 women and counting. And many of the women who've reached out have already run run for office and won. And in 2018, enough Emily's List women were elected to take back the Democratic majority in the US House by themselves. And in addition to shattering all kinds of glass ceilings and electing many, many firsts, a groundbreaking Emily's List woman who we previously helped in her state, local, and national office was elected vice president. Of course, it has been exciting to get to play a role in any historic moment like this. And in 2018, when we tripled the number of Democratic women governors in office, and a big part of that was electing Maine's governor, Janet Mills. She is, of course, up for re-election in 2022. And in 2018, our federal and gubernatorial team was with her every step of the way. I think we spent over $1 million through our Women Vote, that's our independent expenditure arm, to help elect her. And she's really credited the support of our community of more than 5 million, as well as her relationship with the other women governors we've helped elect, with having her back and giving her the strength and bravado to lead with so much courage through such a tough time. Emily's List has also made a big impact in state legislative elections. In 2015, before I was hired, Emily's List launched our Focus 2020 program targeting state legislative chambers across the country to flip before the next round of redistricting happens, which is happening right now. At the time, as you will remember, Maine had a Democratic majority in the state House, but not in the Senate. Our work since then has been to help protect the House, flip the Senate, and win the governor's seat to help Democrats secure the trifecta in just a few cycles, which will be so important in impacting redistricting. In 2018, we helped flip the Senate from red to blue while fighting to protect incumbents like Eloise Vitelli and Shenna Bellows, and helped expand the number of women in the caucus with the election of Linda Sanborn. And as I said, I have some of the best memories of canvassing in Wiscasset up and down that beautiful train of turf for Laura. Actually, it might not have been Wiscasset. It was Damariscotta. That's where it was, Damariscotta. And in total, we invested over $100,000 in state Senate races that year. And in 2020, we helped expand the majority even further with the election of our endorsed candidate, Chloe Maxman, who you'll all remember beat Republican Senator Dana Dow by literally knocking every door in her district, and also while literally leading mutual aid efforts through the pandemic. Thanks in part to Emily's List investment in Maine, since 2015, we have now increased the number of Democratic women in the state Senate from 5 to 9, and in the House from 30 to 47. As a result, women are now the majority in the House Democratic Caucus, and we see an opportunity right now, potentially, and I hope Ashley talks about this a little bit more, to have a Democratic pro-choice majority in the state Senate too. We're currently working to recruit women in open and potential swing seats for both the House and Senate. I had a couple of conversations earlier this week. I know we've launched a campaign a little bit north of you. And so we're in there, we're engaged. And an important part of Emily's List work, and one of the biggest reasons why we do it, is to help women in office grow in their careers and power over time. We're all incredibly proud and so pleased to see former State Senator Shenna Bellows become Maine's first woman Secretary of State. And also of note, Emily's List women, Eloise Vitelli and Maddie Daughtry, elected to serve in leadership positions in the state Senate this year. And we've got a lot of work to do. The re-election of Governor Janet Mills is not going to be easy. There's so much that I don't need to talk to you all about how important it has been that she's been there. But what is especially interesting, looking at this from a national perspective at Emily's List, it had to look at her leadership stand out on the national stage during the COVID-19 pandemic. From the beginning, she and her women majority cabinet made it clear that they were committed to relying on science. They led incredible public-private partnerships to manufacture PPE, and Maine has consistently achieved some of the best vaccination rates in the country and has had some of the lowest cases and hospitalization rates. Because of Janet Mills and the work that you all have done, literally thousands of lives have been saved. And these are just a few examples of the massive difference that Governor Mills' leadership has made. And I cannot, back in another lifetime in my political work, I did some opposition research on Paul LePage. And he might be trying to rebrand himself now, but you all know and remember, and you've got to keep reminding him of who he really is and has always been. This is the guy who bragged about being Donald Trump before Donald Trump became popular and being of the same cloth as the former president. Racist statements, who has met multiple times with a group that the FBI and Maine's state law enforcement consider part of the domestic terrorist movement. He questioned the legitimacy of the 2020 election and whose extreme conservative record and views, particularly when it comes to choice, would be a cruel disaster for Maine women and families. And he's also talked about making history by unseating your first woman governor. We can't afford to have all of the progress that the Democratic trifecta has made go to waste. The other thing that I want to talk about is what's happening across the country, especially since Texas. So we live in a part of the country, I live here too, where we don't think that we're going to see abortion restrictions happen in our life. We think even our Republicans traditionally have left choice alone, have supported abortion, and that is just not the case anymore. We are seeing a new brand of Republicans. We are seeing a new vicious attacks happening at the state level. Just a little bit ago, Sununu, a pro-choice governor, signed an abortion ban here in New Hampshire. We have an abortion ban at 24 weeks with mandatory ultrasounds, no matter what, no exemptions for rape, for incest, for anything. And just yesterday, our Republican Executive Council voted to defund Planned Parenthood, all of the services that they provide, despite all of the evidence showing that none of their money goes towards abortion care. And they defunded it. So it's gone. Care for thousands of people is just gone overnight. So I want to make it really clear what we have to do in order to protect access to reproductive health care, to protect access to abortion services, to protect choice, is to focus on our state legislatures, because we are the last line of defense. So if you are thinking about, well, Maine is safe, we're going to have safe districts and we control the redistricting. Yes, you sure do. But it's really important to think a couple of steps ahead. You have to also be thinking about local stuff. So I serve on the select board. Arguably, I don't have anything to do with access to reproductive health care. However, I have a Planned Parenthood in my town. And it's really important that we stand firm and hold the line of defense. So if you have a friend who's running for local office, if you have a friend on the school board, if you have a friend who's serving on the select board, show up for them, help them get elected, help them toe the line at all levels of government to say access to healthcare is important, relying on science is important, and nobody is going to tell me that freedom of choice extends to masks and it doesn't extend to reproductive health care. So I guess my ask of you tonight is to really get engaged. If you're not going to run for office yourself, which of course is the best thing to do, right? Help a friend run for office. Make sure Governor Mills is reelected. Make sure Chloe Maxman is elected. Make sure we flip that seat that she left back to Democratic control. Make some gains in Maine. You all are doing such amazing work. Your federal delegation, almost all of your federal delegation, is something to be proud of. Your governor is somebody to be proud of. And the place that you play in national politics is really, really important. So I will turn it over to Ashley. I know we have a bit of we have some time, so I'm sure I'm going to get some questions about protecting access to choice, but I think I'll hand it over to you, Ashley.
Right. I'm starting with an assignment, True Emerge Woman. I have put an assignment in the chat. I want everyone to name in the chat one woman that they know that has gone through the Emerge Maine program. And a special hint, if you were listening to my friend Molly, you can name any of the women that she named. I see a Rep. Lydia Crafts in there. Yep. Yep, Representative Allison Hepler, absolutely. I won't name them all, but keep them coming, because the reality is a lot of the Democratic women that you interact with in your areas and at the state level and in the staffing offices are Emerge women. So keep them coming. Even Governor Janet Mills is one of our founding members. Emily Kane of Emily's List is one of our former advisory board members, and I believe she was one of our founding trainers for about a decade. She trained me in many of the other classes that have come through. Natasha Irving. Yep, absolutely. Secretary of State Shanna Bellows, Chloe Maxman. My name is Ashley McCurry. Thank you so much, Lincoln County, for having me here. At the absence of events and in-person events, you can imagine what an extrovert fundraiser feels being away from so many people for so long. So really glad to see all of your faces. Emerge has grown tremendously in the 15 years that we've been here in Maine, so since 2006. And from our early efforts to identify, recruit, and train Democratic women, we currently are 375 women strong. That's not including women who have come in as trainers but haven't gone through the program, founding mothers, advisory board members. So it's pretty likely that if you are anywhere in politics, you're going to find an Emerge woman, and she's going to help you. She's going to help you take a step up in your leadership. Women in our network, which include founding mothers and advisory board members, hold leadership positions in both elected leadership and staff positions in the Blaine House, the District Court, Secretary of State's office, Maine House leadership, Senate House leadership, on local councils, on local school boards, on human rights commissions, and in activist circles. 100% of Democratic senators support, train, or donate to Emerge Maine. That includes the men. We've remained hyper-focused on training Democratic women and building a bench, and we have really committed to playing long game politics. So let's talk a little bit about that. First, by acknowledging that our success is actually mirrored by your success. Lincoln County has given us some of the brightest stars that we call the women we can highlight in our network. You have Senator Maxman, Rep. Crafts, Commissioner Fortman, DA Natasha Irving, and your own Kelly Burton, who is part of organizing this event and organizes a lot of Emerge women, including myself, when we need advice and support. You've recruited Emerge's shining examples of who we want Democratic women to look like when they're leading. And that's really because you are on the ground committed to this mission with us. And so truly, I thank you for that. I'm asking you to take what you've learned by recruiting that powerhouse group of women and consider recruiting the next group of Democratic women. So I want to play the same game. I want you to put a woman who maybe isn't thinking about running for office yet, but is a future leader. I want you to put her name in the chat at some point before I'm done talking tonight. So think about it. Think about who would be right for Emerge and put that person's name in the chat. We'll talk a little more about that. So for those of you who either are new to politics or you're not aware of our program, we're a 70-hour, 6-month training program that teaches you the nuts and bolts of campaign organizing, fundraising, messaging, communicating, network building, all the nuts and bolts of campaigns that truly you can learn in a lot of different tremendous organizations. And so there are a lot of trainings across the state that will train you on the ins and outs of how to do campaign work. But we do take it a little bit of a step further. Emerge digs deeper into the lives of their women as leaders. So we don't tell women how to fundraise. We help them build a donor network for themselves. We don't tell women how to message their campaign. We get to know who they are, and we pull out the stories that align with the values of their communities. We don't ask women to change their opinions or to be a certain type of Democrat, but we facilitate hard conversations and direct communication, and we practice giving direct feedback and receiving feedback graciously. We also follow up to make sure our sisters are living out their values. And so are our leaders changing when they receive direct feedback. We follow up and continue part of both our commitment to them and the mission of the organization. We connect political jobs to political women. We serve as weekly and monthly support to candidates. We serve as a recruitment tool. And quite frankly, whether or not you've gone through the program, if you're a woman and you're running for office, you probably have Googled us, talked to an Emerge woman, been recruited by an Emerge woman, or called us to ask for support and advice. When political work is challenging, we provide a network of women to support each other. The goal is that when you're having a rough day, you have someone to call. When you're not sure which leadership step to take, you have a crew of women that you could call to mentor you and support you. Maybe you need the casserole when you're going through a hard time. Maybe you need a sister to do childcare or knock on doors or drive you. Either way, it's essentially a network that we provide on the ground. And it is successful. We have a really great network of women. Not all women are alike. Not all women are the same. We don't have all exactly the same values, but we're committed to the same mission of electing Democratic women to all levels of government. So as Emerge grows, this is where Lincoln County and Emerge and Emily's List and all of the programs that are working to elect Democratic women come together. I am personally invested because I have a long background in Democratic politics. I've worked for the Democratic Party in 2012, in 2016, in 2018. I'll probably work for them again at some point. It seems to be the trend. I'm personally invested in the long game of Democratic politics. And one of the things I've seen in all of the jobs that I found myself in, working in political nonprofits and work, is the long-term vision of politics is actually really hard to do. There's a lot of transition in political staffing jobs. There's a lot of burnout in volunteers, and not all county committees are as organized as Lincoln County is. So it's really hard to think long game. It's quite frankly really hard to get through each election. So Emerge has the opportunity to look at municipal candidates across the state. We have the opportunity to see where there are vacancies or where small towns have no women, right? We also have the opportunity to see when House and Senate leaders are terming out in 2024, in 2026, and on and on and on we go. Emerge has the ability to recruit in those areas for candidates you're going to need for the legislature in 2 and 4 years. And we have the opportunity to train them now. Quite frankly, it can take a long time for a woman who's newly frustrated by something at the local level to go from, I'm frustrated and I need to change something or I need to do something, to, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to run for office. It's usually not just our application process that it takes someone to get there. It can take several years to coach someone to sort of step into their leadership. So Emerge gets to be that space. And really, it's Lincoln County and leaders like you on the ground that are seeing who's working in the stores, which hairstylist knows everybody in town, who are the people that are fighting for schools, for their students in any direction, right? Who are the people that need their activism to be directed to build some energy for the party that we all believe in. So I think with that, I actually did pull some data for Lincoln County. So I do have some suggestions on towns where we need to recruit more women. I'm happy to show you that data, but I think we'll probably open it first to any questions that we have. And I guess I'll open the floor.
If you want to submit a question in the chat, you can do that. And Ashley and Molly could read that, or I could read that aloud to them. Otherwise, does everyone know how to raise your hand? If you go under reactions, it's across the bottom of your screen. You'll see right there, it says raise your hand, and we'll call on you that way. And you can unmute yourself and ask your question. This is not a shy group. Let's go. Come on. Ashley's got some data. Ashley's got some data on where we could elect more women in Lincoln County. Perhaps we could start there, Ashley.
Yeah. So I either have a spreadsheet that I was going to share, but now I'm realizing we're live streaming, so I'm just not sure where that goes. So for now, I'll just say Dresden, Newcastle. I know you have Lydia, but your city planning committee is not very diverse. Somerville, Westport Island, Bremen. That's actually a town I haven't been to. I apologize if I say that incorrectly. But those are some of the towns that either there isn't any emerge women, or there are not any emerge women, or there are no women in what I can see in the municipal elected positions. I see a Mr.
Jeff,
Bates.
you're muted, Jeff.
I have a question for Molly. Emily's list, my understanding is that, you know, Emily is early money is like East. And so how do you handle situations like in Maine where so many of the candidates are clean candidates and, you know, there's like a $5 limit. So, I mean, how does that work for you? Do you kind of go outside and just do general advertising or coaching, or what is it you do?
Great question. And a lot of it depends on the district and how competitive they are. And then the other piece depends on how they're interacting with the caucus. So oftentimes, you know, the candidates run clean, but the caucus collects, you know, there are different laws that help with the caucus. And so what we did, especially after the 2018 election, when we flipped, to make sure that the caucus was really healthy and had enough resources to support, we Rolodex the women, all of the women. So, you know, challenging, incumbent, safe districts, hard districts, whatever, and had them raise into the caucus to help protect that majority, that new majority. And then we also, you know, a lot of the clean elections, the seed money is complicated, and a lot of it is also just building up the same skills and making sure that people are confident in their asks. And then there's a lot of strategy that happens outside of just fundraising, right? So it's like, you know, what's the message? How do you target? How do you ask for volunteers? How do you grow your structure? So it's that definitely used to be what we only focused on about fundraising, because, you know, the barrier to entry was so hard for women to get over back in, you know, 1985 when we were founded. But now it's more, you know, sort of an all service. You know, I spend my days talking with candidates, all different candidates. You know, one of the things that I was doing was helping Victoria Foley, who's running a mayoral race, and there are no limits. So like, and she hasn't ever had to fundraise before. So we had we put together a call time program. I Rolodexed her and I helped her just train that muscle of like, how do you ask for money? So it's a little different in Maine because of the clean election stuff, but there's still all of these traditional ways of campaigning that we really help with.
Sure. Great, thank you.
But thank you for that question.
Can I add a little bit to the fundraising skills in regard to clean elections? And I was finance director of the state Democratic Party and very proud of that role. So I probably couldn't say this when I held that role. But in a lot of other states, legislators who are elected and supported by the party will do call time for the party. So in addition to whatever call time they have to do for their elections, they will give back and do call time for the state party so that the state party can invest in their county committees and all of the events they want to do and more training programs and the convention. That doesn't happen a lot in Maine. And I always thought that it was because not a lot of people are comfortable fundraising. Because while Clean Elections is a fantastic program, you lose the ability to learn how to fundraise. And learning how to fundraise is learn how to build power. I don't like money in politics any more than anyone else is. But we can't let the Republicans raise all the money and be good at raising all the money. And then we can't, like, we are not even comfortable asking for money for our own state party or your own. I don't know Lincoln County's fundraising, but I bet that if everyone did a little more fundraising, Chris would be happier. And the reality is a lot of us are really uncomfortable with fundraising. So Clean Elections gets you in the door and it lets you focus on the things that's important, but it doesn't actually work that fundraising muscle that we really need to work to win some of these campaigns. So if more people practiced fundraising, they might be more comfortable volunteering their time to fundraise for the state party. And if you're elected, make sure you do your call time.
I wonder if the two of you could talk about another thing. Running for office is absolutely your goal. I get that. But there are many ways that Democratic women, many roles Democratic women can play in politics. I think of Laura Fortman as one. You know, she's held many offices at the federal and state level. So tell me what your programs, what kind of services or programs or trainings you might offer or consider offering that would help not just train women to run for office, but train women to run campaigns, train women to do all to work for the House Democratic Campaign Committee, to, you know, these kinds of things.
Yeah, you want me to take that, Molly?
Go ahead.
We actually want about a third of our class with women that don't plan to run for office. One, because we need the campaign managers and the treasurers and the volunteers behind the scenes. That's huge. And two, because we need the staffers and the support teams at the State House. And a lot of campaigns and a lot of political jobs, they can't always pause. They have to continue working for nonprofits, working for political PACs. There's a lot of work that you can do that isn't an elected official. We have done one or two in the course of our 15 years, campaign staffer boot camps, where that's been pretty tremendous. We've trained 25 women on how to work on campaigns. That has really amplified and helped. We've done those in partnerships with the Maine Dems, usually on years they need staffers. So like right after Governor Mills was elected, a lot of our Democratic people went to go work for the State House. We still need the same people on the ground to do the political work. So after that race, we trained some women to run for office. But in our program, we actually create groups of campaigns. So if we have 5 candidates, we put those groups together so that you have a treasurer, a campaign manager, a volunteer manager on your team planning a real campaign. And the goal is when you get out of the class and you're ready to run for office, you have your campaign plan and quite frankly, half your team that's already trained up, ready to help you. That's the goal.
I think that the Emerge trainings are fantastic. I've done some of the finance trainings for them in the past. We also do our own, how to run for office trainings, but the support system, especially with the real emphasis on field work in Maine, which is great. There are so many ways to be effective and impactful in your participation. And the other thing that I want to flag is our training center. It used to cost money, but now it's free, which is really great. And so in that center is like how to do everything. Like if you want to know how to get Facebook verified and run some digital ads, like there's a module to do that. If you want to, have a field program, there's a module to do that. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in helping women run for office or running for office yourself, check that out. And then the average age of participants in Emily's list, it totally varies. Like of endorsed candidates, I would say, I don't even know. I mean, I have Mayor Spicer, who's the incumbent mayor in Framingham, Massachusetts. She's in real trouble. But she's later. She's a, highlighted candidate that we've got. And then, all the way down to early 20s, Chloe Maxman's probably one of the younger senators that we've endorsed, but there's, all sorts of ages. Ashley, how about you? What are the average ages of
everybody, like we tend to make sure that women are over 18, voting age, that type of thing. So we're not really the right crowd for the college or the high school age students yet, maybe in the future, but right now not. I did the program right out of college and there were people 60 and 70 in my class. And every year we intentionally create a good, healthy mix of women to learn from each other so that it's not really a homogenous group. It really should be a group of diverse thought, lived experience, and geographic diversity as well.
Not to put Representative Crafts on the spot, but I'm going to put Representative Crafts on the spot. You went through the Emerge training program and then ran for office and won. Maybe I mentioned when we started this off, I see a couple of people on the screen in front of me who I think would make outstanding candidates with the Emerge program, would potentially be people who would be endorsed by Emily's List at some point. Can you talk a little bit, Lydia, about how the training program, the networks, how that helped you decide to run and how it helped you run that successful campaign?
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Well, thank you, Ashley and Molly, both for being here. I had the privilege of participating in both Emerge and an Emily's List training, as well as the National Educators Association, the teachers union at a national level. So I had planned to run for our planning board in the town of Newcastle and had served on some town committees and really had never seen myself in state politics. It had never been a goal of mine. I, at the time, had a very young family and it didn't seem possible, and ended up meeting a couple of women who had done Emerge and felt like it was worth a try. And once I sort of tasted it and met other women who were excited about running for office, I was totally hooked. It was incredibly inspirational, as well as just so helpful for the nuts and bolts. I came out of, I did I think a weekend or a one-day training with Emily's List, and then the 6-month program with Emerge, and had an entire campaign. I mean, I remember sitting one Saturday in Southern Maine with Emerge sisters and like analyzing my first palm card and getting tons of feedback on editing my palm card to be better. I remember making fundraising calls to other Emerge supporters and feeling terrified by it, and having Ashley there the whole way, like, you are going to do this no matter how painful it is. So the exposure was really, really amazingly valuable for my campaign. And also, you know, I think that we all can have self-doubt. We can have some misperceptions about ourselves. And so being in an environment where people are there really committed to inspiring and to helping you see yourself in kind of all of your truest strength, and really aligning your own personal values with work that you can do in your community, whether that's on town council at the state level or higher. It's been incredible. And I still, you know, we're planning our Emerge reunion for a week and a half from now with my Emerge sisters. We all stay in touch. We're there for folks. I had the privilege of winning my race, but had plenty of friends and sisters who did not win their race, and everyone showed up. Everyone is there. It's an incredible network, and really it has kind of kept me going when I've had my own self-doubt about it. I've also worked really hard to recruit lots of other women in our community for Emerge, because it is, you know, it's an incredible tool set for folks to start off with.
I love that story, because I think it's really easy to think that you can't feel the sorts of things that Representative Crafts talked about and run for office. And we all do, you know, like it's always, you don't see that with Kamala Harris or Janet Mills or whomever, but it's there. And so if you have a sisterhood or a circle of people that have your back, and that's what Emerge does, I think, really, really well.
You know, you did say Kamala twice, and I should have said the national organization, which started a similar time frame in California, and we were talking, not me, but Emerge Maine and Emerge California were speaking. So even in the early days, but their story is that their first race was being planned for Kamala Harris's DA race, her first DA race, and the women in the table said there should be a training program to help women run for office like this, and that's how National Emerge is rumored to have started. Apparently, there's some now misunderstandings of who was there at the first table or not, but that always happens when you're 15 years out and successful. I see you, Chris. How are you?
I just want to chime in with a brief observation about Lydia. So I loved what she had to say, but I also want to say something that she probably wouldn't, because she's not looking from the outside. That she had a very impressive presence in her campaign, and she had a very impressive network of people working on her campaign for her, that were local people. I think one of the most impressive things, and I don't honestly know how much of that is just inherently Lydia shining through, and how much of it is her comfort with showing that she gained from the experience. But she was extremely comfortable in her own skin, communicating her own values and who she was as part of her campaign, and not trying to put on any kind of persona of a politician. That's, I think, one of the things that somebody getting into politics has a hard time wrestling with. And she stepped in just being herself brilliantly. So I just wanted to observe that. For anybody else who's thinking about, can I do this? Lydia is a great example of someone who did it and is, learned to be comfortable doing what she needed to campaign, but to be herself in that place. So that's all I wanted to say.
Chris, I'm glad you mentioned that. In my Emerge class, Sarah Skillen-Woodard was the executive director at the time. She was right before Ashley. And one of the things that Sarah said at the beginning of every single session was, be your best self. And that was the focus of that, because she didn't want us to be somebody we weren't, because we needed to be true to ourselves, because that's why we were there. So I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I see that in Lydia for sure. Do we have other questions?
One person asked me in a chat if I would encourage people to do one or the other, like Emerge or Emily's List, or if Emily's List or Emerge. And I would say do both, because Emerge does not endorse candidates. We don't give financial backing to candidates. I have done many Emily's List trainings and learned, like, even after being an experienced fundraiser, I have gone to trainings and learned more. We really kind of pivot off each other, and you should never learn one person's way to do anything. You should never learn just Emerge's way to do political campaigning. You should know all the ways to do political campaigning and then tailor what is right for you. And that hopefully comes through at the Emerge Maine program when we give conflicting trainers intentionally, and should come through here between Molly and I. We are not competitive. Emerge is not competitive. Emily's List is not competitive. We want Democratic women in office. We don't care how you get there. Like, just get there. Scholarships are not needed. I don't want you to pay for your tuition. I want you to fundraise for your tuition. So yes, we will never turn anybody away for their inability to pay. We will never, ever, cost will never be a barrier. But everybody fundraises. In fact, if you think you want to pay, either you think you have enough money or you think you know how to fundraise, I will make it harder for you by making you only fundraise within your district or only fundraise $5. And I find a very sick joy in doing that. So bring it. And I don't want you to pay for your tuition at all. Oh, sorry. And not everyone saw that question. Thank you. The question was, are there scholarships to help folks pay for your training programs?
I guess the answer is you're the scholarship. You're worth it. And it's hard to ask people to support you. And the fact that that's one of the first things you have to do to start up the Emerge program, it's like ripping that bandage off a little bit of the scab comes off too, but then you're done and you know how to do it, and you've got your money and you're in the program. I had mentioned when I was talking with Ashley and Molly before we joined all of you, I mentioned to the two of them that we have 2 seats that we are desperate to flip next year. One of them is going to be an open seat, and another one is going to be, I hope, a retaking of Chloe Maxman's seat in District 88. We're holding off, I think right now, Chris and I've talked a little bit about this, there's a lot of redistricting, as you all know, going on, and those are 2 districts that could very well be affected by whatever plan comes out of the legislature. But looking around at this group in front of us and knowing a lot of the people who are active in Lincoln County Dems who couldn't be here this evening, we're going to need some help in identifying good candidates to run. And I, for one, would love to see us identify very strong female candidates to run for those seats. So this has been a great way to sort of get our minds going in that direction, I think. Do we have any other questions or any other comments? Ashley, Molly, any parting words?
Just give them to me and I will Just get them to me, right? Like you are there in Lincoln County. I'm sitting in Naples. Like just get me the women and I will love them up to leadership. I'm so excited to meet the new cohort. This job is the best. Like really just get them to me and we will get Democratic women in your communities.
Ashley, when does the enrollment open for the next class?
Well, we are way ahead of our schedule, Kelly. So enrollment is already opened and has been for several weeks and will continue to be open through October. Of course, there's sliding end dates, but I would love to get at least half the class chosen before mid-October. So I'd love to have about 15 applicants by mid-October, but we can accept probably up to 40 people. And we have until October 30th to do it. And if we need to shake some more people after that, we have until November 14th to do it.
Can you drop the link for the application program into the chat?
Absolutely.
And Molly, I understand that you're going to be working with the House and Senate Democratic campaigns to help identify candidates across the state. Is that right?
Yes, we have been meeting for months now, which is really exciting. I feel like we have a really good handle on what the districts should look like. You know, things are always shifting a little bit, but you are in such a good position with your Democratic trifecta that I don't think that there are going to be any scary surprises. We do meet regularly. I think we are paused now, but it's a big recruitment table. So if you have names or if you have people who are interested, I'll put my email in the chat too. I know that you probably have many different ways to reach all of us, but it would be great to get names of people who are you think might be good, who might have indicated that they would be maybe interested. The more names we have, the better. So I'll put my email in the chat. Know that we are thinking routinely about Maine and about some of these districts. And these two that you mentioned are, at the top of everybody's list.
I'm glad to hear that. That means we'll probably see you again.
I'm sure.
Well, I think that's brings us to a close for that. You're welcome to stay and listen to us talk about the platform, the state party platform and the platform committee, but we understand you both have young ones at home if you need to attend to that. So grateful.
I mean, platform's a tough sell, even if you don't have young ones at home, I will say. So thank you all for doing that. That is really nice. I know, Chris, but no, that's tough. Thank you.
It has been a pleasure. Thanks for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
Let's take off mute and everybody give a round of applause.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Very interesting.